Bandai Namco have regaled us with a surplus of information concerning the brand new upcoming Blue Protocol Anime MMORPG over the last couple months. So much so that I feel like it is my responsibility to go ahead and compile all of this information together, both new and old, creating an all-encompassing everything you need to know about Blue Protocol video going into 2021. In doing so, I hope to update you all with everything you need to know regarding the game, when it's releasing, what content they've altered, its business model, and, well, everything there is to know about the title. So you guys are going to want to take a little bit to sit back, and I urge you to watch this until the very end, as it will cover every question you might have. And trust me, there is a lot of info here. Just look at the duration down at the bottom of the screen. Before that though, real quick, do not forget that we stream MMOs over on our Twitch channel at twitch.tv/MMOBite every Tuesday, Saturday, and Sunday at 3 p.m. EST. If we get accepted into the upcoming closed beta, we'll be streaming over here, so make sure you come on by and follow. Blue Protocol is an upcoming anime MMORPG developed by Bandai Namco. It was announced last year in 2019 and has been growing in popularity ever since. This is a game that utilizes large segregated zones, much like Blade & Soul and Final Fantasy XIV. Yeah, the game is not a full, complete sandbox MMO like Black Desert or World of Warcraft. A lot of people are still unaware that Blue Protocol is actually a completely free-to-play MMO. It will not require a single cent to purchase, nor will it require any financial investment to continue playing. We don't currently know their plans on additional content, whether they will introduce new content in the form of updates like the majority of free MMOs, or if it'll be released as a separate expansion much like Final Fantasy XIV or the Elder Scrolls Online. Since this is a free title, I wouldn't expect needing to pay for any additional forms of the game, but at the same time, I can't say that will be the case with any type of certainty. Since Blue Protocol will be a fully free MMO, Bandai Namco announced there will in fact be a cash shop. From the beta and from what they've confirmed, the items located within the cash shop will be purely cosmetic, as they've promised that they will refrain from listing anything that could potentially promote pay to win or pay to advance. However, at the same time, I'm not sure providing exclusively cosmetic items will be enough to keep the game running or be nearly profitable enough to warrant not including other items. So I guess we're just gonna have to go ahead and wait and see. Honestly, the combat is very, very good. Both Mrs. Sticks and I had the opportunity to try the combat out when we played through the 2 days of the most recent closed beta test, and I can say with certainty that while I do dislike the archer class traditionally in most MMOs, it was not bad. The mage though is what I really wanted to play, and unfortunately, since I opted to stream the beta test, our viewers forced me to go archer. Yeah, thanks for that, guys. I appreciate that. Either way, the combat itself is pure action. You don't require a target to use your abilities or to even free fire. You have a small reticle for aiming and aim your abilities long range or slash up close and personal. I did not see any type of animation canceling, which is something that I hate having to learn in action games, and the combat flowed very smoothly. Abilities looked amazing, especially for the mage. Seeing giant meteors rain down from the sky and engulf enemies was a marvel to behold, and I cannot wait to get my hands on it. Currently, there are 4 unique classes available in-game: the Aegis Fighter, the Twin Striker, the Blast Archer, and the Spellcaster. Bandai Namco have recently announced that they are not only in the process of developing brand new classes, but they have every intention of continuing to work on new classes as the development cycle moves forward. This means that they're not limiting themselves to a single class, but rather several over time. Each class feels pretty unique and has their own distinct selection of abilities, both real-time and passive, that you can spec into. This provides a little in the way of customization, however, this is based purely off of my experience within the beta. Many of these abilities in the entire system itself may be reworked going into the future, but it felt as though with enough time you'd probably end up with roughly the same build that everyone else had anyway. Yeah, yes you can. Blue Protocol sports quite an extensive character creator. While it was definitely somewhat limited within the closed beta, it's worth noting that over the last year, the last few months in specific, great strides have been made with regards to the type of customization available and the control you have over your character. Initially, you had some fairly basic options. You had your face shape, eye shape, nose style, mouth style, hairstyle, pretty much what we've come accustomed to in an anime MMO. However, over the last couple months, they have added additional features to various aspects of the face. You have much more control over how your eyes are shaped, the direction, the angle. You have additional options for your hair. You now have control over various different color tints, so you're not limited to a single hair color. And they're working on quite a bit more, with the team showing no signs of slowing down in the future. More often than not, we're not given much in the way of creativity or originality when it comes to anime games. So it's refreshing to see that Bandai Namco have heard our feedback and are making the necessary changes to the game to adequately satiate our thirst. Yes, as you can no doubt tell, as I covered in the beginning of this video, Blue Protocol is an anime MMORPG. It features beautiful anime landscapes, environments, characters, and is by far the most beautiful non-3D MMO that I have probably ever played. The game features segregated zones, meaning that each area is actually instanced off from the rest of the world, allowing for incredibly high quality, detailed zones to play in. There are a limited number of players allowed per zone, however, with 30 players per area and 200 players per town at max, which honestly kind of makes sense. This is to prevent channels from overloading, and many MMOs in this day and age actually impose a hard limit like this on their zones as well. Many players just aren't really made aware of them. Do note that Bandai Namco have expressed that they have thought on these limitations to quite a degree, and believe that if necessary, they can expand the total number of players per zone. These limitations, however, allow for zones like what are present in Blue Protocol to exist, zones that remind me of a Xenosaga game. When Blue Protocol was initially announced, and even leading into the most recent closed beta test, it was believed to be a PC exclusive game. Bandai Namco showed no interest in developing the game for any additional platforms until recently. During their latest live stream, it was confirmed that not only are they developing the game for additional platforms, those platforms are for consoles. Yeah, we could very well be receiving Blue Protocol on both PS4 and or PS5 when the game launches. It's unconfirmed whether the Switch will receive an incarnation of the game, but considering that the majority of the MMOs that release onto consoles also release onto either PlayStation or Xbox devices as opposed to the Switch, doesn't really leave me with too much hope thanks to the console's very noticeable limitations. Thankfully, they've shown absolutely no interest in a mobile port or a mobile game, which is something that I actually get asked quite a bit. No, Blue Protocol will not be launching onto mobile devices. They have no intention of this, and they show no signs of that changing anywhere in the future. Correct, there is no PvP. Well, okay, that's actually a lie. There is PvP, but the acronym doesn't stand for what it typically does. PvP traditionally stands for player versus player, pitting players against one another in competitive combat. However, in Blue Protocol, PvP stands for party versus party, pitting entire groups against one another in the form of competitive leaderboard rankings as you form a group to tackle waves of monsters in PvE and attempt to attain the top ranking for all number of rewards. Japan isn't all too competitive when it comes to PvP content. Their most recent popular MMOs, Final Fantasy XIV and Phantasy Star Online 2, both have PvP in them, but the functionality of the system is so limited that it's almost universally hated and ignored by the majority of the player base. PvP just isn't really very important to Japanese players, and since this is a Japanese MMO aimed at Japanese players first and foremost, it needs to cater to them more than it does to us. While PvP might be added in a future update, as it stands, they are not in any way interested in incorporating it into the current version or their vision of the game. This is a fairly traditional MMORPG. You have a story that you're actually physically involved in. Your character engages, it shows emotion, and interacts with the other NPCs that make up the bulk of the game. This adds a certain depth to the story and to our characters that I find missing from MMOs. The story takes you through the majority of the game. It takes you to other zones, other areas, other towns. It unlocks other classes, other functions, other features, but there's more to the game than that. There's dungeons that you could do either solo or within a group. These dungeons in question scale to the player and have monsters of varied levels, making for more difficult encounters the further you make it through. There are raids that you can participate in. There was one in specific during the closed beta test that I didn't actually get to participate in, but I did see clips of it, and man, the fights were ridiculous. They remind me of a Savage raid from Final Fantasy XIV if the bosses were actually to physically scale. Then there's the party versus party we talked about earlier. There is the ability to capture Imajinn like Pokemon and more, what you'd expect out of a fully fledged MMO. Imajinn takes several different forms. First, let's talk about your gear. Now, I'm aware that this has upset some Western players as you don't typically obtain gear in the traditional way. Instead of looting gear from monsters, boss monsters, dungeon chests, raid bosses, you actually craft your gear. You obtain materials, and then you go about physically crafting them yourself, meaning that there is no gear reward from participating in nor completing any type of content. Again, I'm aware that this has upset some players as the lack of reward can be, well, honestly a little unsatisfying. There's nothing quite like downing a boss monster only to see the most epic piece of gear you can obtain for your class and level. The Imajinn also function as a monster summon that comes out and functions primarily like a special ultimate ability. It has a cooldown and each one functions somewhat differently. These are obtainable out in the field and require you actively collect them if you want to maximize your damage output. Honestly, another closed beta is scheduled for next month as of this video going live. It's currently October 18th as of writing this up, but I believe this will be going live on Monday, October 19th, a few weeks before the next closed beta test. They have, as of this moment, not mentioned specifically how many additional betas will take place after this one, but considering the next one is testing matchmaking functionality, I would say probably several. Do note that these beta tests are for Japanese players only, and if you do manage to get in, you will be required to use a VPN to mask your IP to avoid getting banned. Speaking of the next beta tests, I am well aware that you guys are holding out for a release. Since Genshin Impact launched, people have been on an anime high, absolutely enthralled by the marvel that is Genshin Impact. Excitement for Blue Protocol is continuing to increase with the knowledge and realization that an anime title like that could actually leave us completely shocked and taken aback by how good it could potentially be. So, during their most recent live stream, Bandai Namco revealed that the upcoming anime MMO will be coming out in Japan in 2021, confirming my suspicions earlier this year. Yes, I did mention that it will be launching in Japan next year, not globally, but that doesn't mean that the game does not have a global release planned. Yes it is. Bandai Namco initially stated that they were launching Blue Protocol within Japan exclusively, but after the media attention the game got, in no small part thanks to yours truly, and your amazing community of like-minded individuals, they went on to change their mind. They made note that they were interested in releasing globally, but it was more of an afterthought, with the Japanese iteration of the game being their main focus at the time. Fast forward to their most recent live stream, not only did they actually confirm the game is coming out globally, but they revealed that it would be coming into other regions in the next year onward. Whether the next year onward means after 2020, so 2021, or after 2021, meaning 2022, remains to be seen, but this is the news that we all wanted to hear. That they're not only thinking of us, but also actively working towards explicitly releasing for us, and they have a time frame for that release in mind even. Do note that this includes North America and Europe. There's no confirmation about a release within Southeast Asia, but if you're capable of playing other Japanese games like PSO2 or Final Fantasy XIV, then I think you should be fine. Now, this is a very good question. This gets asked over on our subreddit for the game literally every other week, so I thought it would be in our best interest to go ahead and list the specs for the game. Minimum, average, and recommended specs required to fully run and enjoy the game. They honestly don't look too bad, and from what I played during the beta while streaming, I had no FPS issues really, other than when there were probably over 100 different players all dancing around on screen at once. And even then, it may have been like a 10, maybe 15 FPS hit at max. And you know what? That is pretty much everything I can think of. All the questions that I've seen asked and all of the topics I think really need to be covered. Blue Protocol is one of the hottest upcoming MMOs, being one of the most anticipated title in years and could potentially be the biggest online release of 2021. This is a game that I have been hyping for over a year now, and I have been covering it quite extensively over the course of that year. I am a fan of anime and I am a fan of MMOs, so getting a game that is an amalgamation of both of them combined is pretty much everything I have been waiting for. This could finally take away my attention from Final Fantasy XIV or World of Warcraft, but even if not, it should at the very least give people something to play that isn't Genshin Impact. But that's just my opinion, my impressions of the game, and hopefully everything you guys need to know going into the game in 2021. But what do you guys think? Does this still look like something you're looking forward to? What is your most anticipated MMO of 2021? Let me know down in the comments below and let's talk about it. Anyway guys, that is it for me. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe for more content like this, and I'll see you guys next time.
Someday soon, I'm gonna make it.